Yeah, hi Ananya.
Hi, Prerna.
Yeah. So shall we start?
Yeah.
Okay. So firstly, introduce yourself and your
Oh,
role and responsibilities.
okay. So my name is Ananya Singh. I have completed my bachelor's in technology from Modi University, Rajasthan, and I have been working as a front-end developer for the past 4 years. I have worked using technology like Angular, React, MongoDB, Express.js, and Node.js. I also have experience with HTML, CSS, TypeScript, Tailwind CSS, and Firebase. I've used Firebase for like authentication and database storage, like the Firestore database, and yeah, that's about it.
Like your overall experience was 4 year and in
Yeah,
Angular
it's 3.6.
or in Node.js.
Both
Okay.
3.6.
So
Yeah.
basically you work for both front end as well as back end.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you rate yourself in Angular out of 5, how much you rate?
So I was told this interview is for React.
Okay. So in React, how much you?
For the React, I don't have any industrial experience, but I've like the experience that I have is based upon the projects that I've built. So I would rate around 3.5 in React.
Okay. In
My
okay. In Node.js.
same.
Okay. So now we start with Node.js. So can you give me a difference between what is Node.js and JavaScript? There will be a difference in both of them.
Yeah. So JavaScript is basically a scripting language. We use JavaScript to add a dynamic content to our websites. So when we are using normal HTML and CSS, everything that we see on a web page would be static content. So to add like dynamic content and also for user interactivity with the website, we use JavaScript. Now for Node.js, it is basically a backend framework. It is used so that we can handle the backend functionalities of a web page. Like backend functionality, by backend functionalities, I mean that fetching of data or anything like retrieving data, updating the data in a database, or deleting the data, or like creating a new set of data in the database. So for that we use Node.js.
Okay. So like what is event loop in Node.js?
So event loop is basically a priority queue defined for the functionalities that are to be performed. So based on that event loop, the Node.js executes the functions. The function that would be at the top of the queue or at the front of the queue would be executed first, and like moving on towards the end of the queue. So that would be the priority of the queue.
Okay. So what is different between asynchronous function and synchronous functions?
So asynchronous functions are basically functions that do not block the execution of the further code. So suppose if I write async keyword in front of a function, then we can await for that function. Like we have to write the keyword await to get the response for that function. And the synchronous function is basically when we do not have that async keyword in front of a function, and also it blocks the execution of code, because once the synchronous function is run, the execution stack would be such as this, that only after the completion of that function we can move on to the next features.
What is difference between callback function and promises?
So callback functions are functions that are passed as an argument to other functions, and promises are basically when we handle it is a way to handle the asynchronous operations in JavaScript. So we a promise can either be resolved, rejected, or pending. So we know that there would be some value for that promise in the future, but we are not sure of it yet. So we define the promise like and we explain like in the code we define that if this promise is resolved, then perform these operations. If it is rejected, perform these operations, like logging an error or anything.
Okay. So you use promise methods just like promise.all, promise.any.
Yeah,
So can you give me a difference between promise.all and promise.race?
promise.all and
Promise.race.
race.
Yeah.
So I haven't heard about the second one.
Okay. So promise.any you heard about?
Yeah. Uh,
So just give me a difference.
So promise.all is basically used when when there are number of promises and we want to define one promise, so that it takes those number of promises like in an array, and iteratively resolves those promises, either resolve or reject those promises, and based on that it would resolve or reject the main promise that we have defined as promise.all, and then in that function we specify the array of the promises of the like number of promises. So it is like it resolves or reject only after all of those promises in the array are resolved or rejected or executed. And for promise.any, it would resolve or reject based on any one of the promises from the array. If any one of them is executed, it would resolve or reject.
Okay. So what are middlewares?
So middlewares are basically we use middlewares for like authentication part of our front end. If it is a front end HTTP middleware, so what we do when we are defining the like when we are calling an API, we define the authentication part using the bearer token, right? We have a token generated, that is the JWT token. I'm
Okay.
sorry. So
Yeah.
using that, we uh, like append the header using the middleware, so that whenever an API call is made, the middleware handle the appending of the headers to that API call, so that the token is appended to that API call, and we know that this API is authenticated now. So if the token is missing from the API, that is the part of like that is the task of the middleware to check if the token is missing from that API, and if it is missing, the user would not be allowed to hit that API or that URL. And if the token works successfully, the headers are added, then like the data would be retrieved and served to the user.
Okay. So like if I ask you to create a application from scratch and I want you to create a secure application, how would you make it secure application?
So there are a number of ways to do this. Like the first that I said would be the backend part would be handled first, like generating the JWT token, then storing it either in local storage or in session storage. After these processes, the middleware part would be done. Like once the front end is done, suppose if I click a button, based on that button click, I'm hitting an API, right? Now that middleware would handle that API authentication and like addition of the JWT token to that API uh, uh, header, and this is one of the ways. So there is another way, like we can use the auth cards that we have. In that we can specify there are a number of ways. So in auth card as well, we have 4 ways. Like there is a boolean value for first is the can activate. So in that we have a boolean value, and we basically define that boolean value, and based on that the component would be loaded or not. So if it is true, the component would be loaded. If it is false, the component won't be loaded. There is another way, that is can activate child. So if the user is trying to access the child component of that parent component, then we can use this auth guard. So auth guard is basically used to check whether the user is authenticated to access that particular page or that particular route or not.
Okay. So with like with Node.js, you use MongoDB or like MySQL?
I have used SQLite and MongoDB as well.
Okay. So can you give me a difference between, like, we have two function that was create and save
Yeah.
method, create and save. What is different between both of them? Create and save in MongoDB.
Sorry, I did not get the question.
Actually, in MongoDB, when we save the data, or you can say when we store the data, so we have two things, either with the help of create or either with the help of save. So
Yeah.
what is different between both of them?
So um I don't know exactly, but I think with saved, we basically save the like user input data, like whatever the user has input in the input fields, that data would be saved using saved. And if we are using create, I think we are manually creating those data for the models that we have specified.
Okay. So, like, have you done go with update query?
No, I haven't had experience with that.
And like, what about aggregation?
No.
Okay. So now coming to the React part. Okay. So like in React part, if we need to communicate parent to child, how we can communicate? Like we have two component, functional component. One was parent and one was child. So how we can transfer data?
So again, there are a number of ways to do this. The first way is using props. We can pass the prop from the parent component to the child component, and then we can access that prop and in turn that data that is in that prop. So this would be like this would be a problem if the child is nested deep down, like from the parent component. So in that case, prop drilling would be happening. That is when the parent component transfers manually transfers the data to all of the child components, and like instead of that one child component that actually requires the data. So if I can share my screen and explain
Uh,
this.
Yeah, I understand. So like if we need to communicate with child to parent, how we can do that?
So first is props, I said, and the second would be like using context API. So I haven't used it like as of yet, but like my experience, like what I have read about this feature is that instead of transferring the data to all of the child components, the context API basically handles data for the child component that actually requires the data from the parent component, so that all the other components won't have the access to the data, and like for security reasons. So context API can be used. We can create the context and then use context provider to like handle the data.
Okay. So why we use effect?
So use effect is basically used for like when we are rendering a page or like a component. So we can have like side effect functions. So by side effect functions, I mean that what happens after we render that component. So if we want to execute some code or function after the rendering of the component is completed, we use the use effect React hook, and we like define whatever the code that we need to execute after the rendering is completed, along with the dependencies that is needed for that.
Okay. Can you share your screen and just open any online JavaScript compiler?
Show visible.
Mm. Not yet. Now preparing. Yeah, visible. Just clear this. Whatever we have. So just wait. I just send you some code. Okay. So I sent some code in chat. Can you copy that? So without running, can you give me the output of this? Just uncomment.
Okay.
What is the output?
It would be undefined.
Why it will be undefined? Can you
Because yeah, because we are using let here for declaring the variable, and we know that let and const cannot be hoisted. So by hoisting I mean that accessing this variable before declaration of this variable. So as we know that this variable is declared at line number 2, but we are trying to access it using console log at line number 1, so this would give as undefined.
can you run it?
It is giving an error.
Yeah, reference error. Because we're trying to access the value.
Before it is declared.
Yeah. So I send another one. Can you copy that? What is the output?
I can remove this, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So just write down the output after line number. Yeah. Just write down with console string. Which console string will be first with value?
Sorry.
Like you need to give the output. Okay.
Okay. Actually, there is sound coming from your mic, Prerna. Thank you. Uh, I'm done.
Okay. Just run it. Why we get undefined?
Okay, so we are getting undefined here because again we are declaring it after the because here a is considered as a local scope variable, and here it is a in variable scope. So that's why here we are trying
Okay.
to access it again before the declaration.
Okay. So just remove the code and just take a variable and write your full name. And you need to reverse the string.
This I can remove it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
So just take a variable and just put it your full name string, and you need to reverse the string.
Okay. uh, I can do this with built-in methods.
Yeah, first do it with built-in method. If you want to run, you can. Yeah. Can you do it with help of loops?
Yeah.
Okay.
So
So just comment this into with loop.
oh, can I remove this? Actually, I don't know if it is.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You can.
Yeah.
So I send another code. Can you copy it? So here basically you have two array, array one and array two. Okay, and you also have a output. So both of array have unique name, username, and they both of have like age and cell. So you need to combine them and make a single object.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, I just give a hint.
Yeah.
So yeah, with help of map, it easy to find the thing.
Okay.
Function. First do with map. Okay, like array.1 use map. Then you have to like find the username and then whatever the thing map basically do. So just it is a basic idea. With help of map, you can easily do the thing.
So actually, I find this to be like a little
Okay.
difficult using map.
Okay, not an issue. You can go with your solution. I just say it is easier.
Actually, I'm not able to like.
Okay, not a issue.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like I understand that like we can have a temporary object, and we can push the value like wherever the value for the username matches, we can push this salary key and this value that is 12,000 in that object, and we can append that in the first array.
Okay, not a issue. Basically, I am done with the interview.
Okay.
HR will let you know.
Okay,
Okay.
sure. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.